Nico hadn't expected it to work so well. He had pulled bone fragments from the earth before. He had animated rat skeletons and unearthed the odd human skull. Nothing prepared him for the wall of bones that burst skyward. Hundreds of femurs, ribs, and fibulas entangling the wolves, forming a spiky briar of human remains. Most of the wolves were hopelessly trapped. Some writhed and gnashed their teeth, trying to free themselves from their haphazard cages. Lycaon himself was immobilized in a cocoon of rib bones, but that did not stop him from screaming curses. "You worthless child!" he roared. "I will rip the flesh from your limbs!" "Coach, go!" Nico said. The satyr sprinted towards the temple. He made the top of the podium in a single leap and scrambled up the left pillar. Two wolves broke free from the thicket of bones. Reyna threw her knife and impaled one in the neck. Her dogs pounced on the other. Aurelium's fangs slipped harmlessly off the wolf's hide, but Argumentum brought the beast down. Argumentum's head was still bent sideways from the fight in Pompeii. His left ruby eye was still missing, but he managed to sink his fangs into the wolf's scruff. The wolf dissolved into a puddle of shadow. Thank goodness for silver dogs, Nico thought. Reyna drew her sword. She scooped up a handful of silver coins from Hedge's baseball cap, grabbed duct tape from the coach's supply bag, and began taping the coins around her blade. The girl was nothing if not inventive. "Go," she told Nico. "I'll cover you." The wolves struggled, causing the bone thicket to crack and crumble. Lycaon freed his right arm and began smashing through his ribcage prison. "I will flay you alive," he promised. "I will add your pelt to my cloak." Nico ran, pausing just long enough to grab Reyna's silver pocket knife from the ground. He wasn't a mountain goat, but he found a set of stairs at the back of the temple and raced to the top. He reached the base of the columns and squinted up at Coach Hedge, who was precariously perched at the feet of Athena Parthenos, unraveling ropes and knotting a ladder. "Hurry!" Nico yelled. "Oh, really?" the coach called down. "I thought we had tons of time." The last thing Nico needed was satyr's sarcasm. Down in the square, more wolves broke free of their bone restraints. Reyna swatted them aside with her modified duct tape coin sword, but a handful of change wasn't going to hold back a pack of werewolves for long. Auronium snarled and snapped in frustration, unable to hurt the enemy. Argumentum did his best, sinking his claws into the throat of another wolf, but the silver dog was already damaged. Soon he'd be hopelessly outnumbered. Lycaon freed both arms. He started pulling his legs from their ribcage restraints. There was only a few seconds until he would be loose. Nico was out of tricks. Summoning that wall of bones had drained him. It would take all his remaining energy to shadow travel, assuming he could even find a shadow to travel into. A shadow. He looked down at the silver pocket knife in his hand. An idea came to him. Possibly the stupidest, craziest idea he'd had since he thought, "Hey, I'll get Percy to swim in the river Styx. He'll love me for that." "Reyna, get up here!" he yelled. She slammed another wolf in the head and ran. In mid-side, she flicked her sword, which elongated into a javelin, then used it to launch herself up like a pole vaulter. She landed next to Nico. "What's the plan?" she asked, not even out of breath. "Show off," he grumbled. A knotted rope fell from above. "Climb, you silly non-goats!" Hedge yelled. "Go," Nico told her. "Once you're up there, hang on tight to the rope." "Nico, do it!" Her javelin shrank back into a sword. Reyna sheathed it and began the climb, scaling the column despite her armor and supplies. Down in the plaza, Auronium and Argumentum were nowhere to be seen. Either they'd retreated or they'd been destroyed. Lycaon broke free of his bone cage with a triumphant howl. "You will suffer, son of Hades!" What else is new, Nico thought. He palmed his pocket knife. "Come get me, you mutt, or do you have to stay like a good dog until your master shows up?" Lycaon sprang through the air, his claws extended, his fangs bared. Nico wrapped his free hand around the rope and concentrated, a bead of sweat trickling down his neck. As the Wolf King fell on him, Nico thrust the silver knife into Lycaon's chest. All around the temple, wolves howled as one. The Wolf King sank his claws into Nico's arm. His fangs stopped an inch from Nico's face. Nico ignored his own pain and jabbed the pocket knife to the hilt between Lycaon's ribs. "Be useful, dog," he snarled. "Back to the shadows." Lycaon's eyes rolled up in his head. He dissolved into a pool of inky darkness. Then several things happened at once. The outraged pack of wolves surged forward. From a nearby rooftop, a booming voice yelled, "Stop them!" Nico heard the unmistakable sound of a large bow being drawn taunts. Then he melted into a pool of Lycaean shadow, taking his friends and the Athena Parthenos with him, slipping into the cold ether with no idea where he would emerge.